This is the Nebraska Greats, a weekly podcast as a service to the Nebraska Greats Foundation, which serves former collegiate athletes facing medical needs and financial challenges. Your tax-deductible contribution will change the life of a former college sports hero. Please give online at negreats.org. And now, here's your host, Corey McKeon.
Welcome. You are listening to the Nebraska Greats. Not just me and our guests, but a podcast produced by the Nebraska Greats Foundation, which serves the collegiate athletes facing a medical need and a financial challenge. If you want to learn more or give generously, head to www.negreats.org. This is Corey McKeon, your guest host. Well, I'd say guest celebrity host or super celebrity, if there was such a thing. And our guest, who's probably rolling his eyes at me right now, is the great Jay Moore. Jay Moore, number 44 in our hearts, number 1 in our hearts, number 44 on the field for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, a Nebraska great, a Elkhorn icon, and a Firethorn sandbagger. Jay, welcome to the podcast. I practiced that opening 4 times in my head. I think it went pretty well. How you doing, buddy?
Good, buddy. Yeah, that went pretty well. Sandbagger, huh? I'm a sandbagger.
Well, I just, for my own confidence level, I like to think that. It helps
I would say you
15.
You take the title of sandbagger if I'm going to bring it to anybody. I don't know. Maybe you need more shots. Maybe you're a reverse sandbagger.
No, I am not an ego sandbagger, Jay. You know this. I am there for the fun, not for the challenge.
That's your brother-in-law.
Oh my gosh, let's not bring his name into this mix. So today we got Jay Moore, obviously a great black shirt. And I know you can't see us on the video, but Jay, if you look, I got your face hanging on my wall behind me. I kiss it every morning when I get into the office to start work. And today, Jay, what I want to do is talk about you. I want to talk about your career at Nebraska. I want to talk about your career in the pros. I want to talk about your career on the golf course. And I just want to hear some good Nebraska stories that don't involve me getting any phone calls from any attorneys. Let's just make sure that's clear right now. So Jay, Elkhorn came right into the University of Nebraska, a 3-year letter winner. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep, you're right.
Oh, thank goodness, because if you're going to say 4, you're going to trump me, and I was going to start crying on this podcast.
Nope,
but we came in, I think, graduated in 2006 after a great senior year, went into the NFL, got drafted by the San Francisco 49ers, spent some good time out there before they moved stadiums. That was over a Candlestick, right? When they still had that going? Tell me about that.
Yeah, it was iconic, but it was a dump. It was much needed. That place, it sucked. It was hard to get to.
Really? Where'd you have to live? How far did you live from like the practice facilities and the stadium?
Well, our practice facility was in Santa Clara. That's where the new stadium is now. It's actually just, they built it in a parking lot. There's like a Six Flags across the street, and they built the stadium like an old Six Flags parking lot. And I lived in San Jose. I only lived 10 minutes away. But to go up to the city, it'd probably take you 45 minutes to get to the stadium. The stadium was on the south side of San Francisco, but luckily on home games we would stay at the airport, which is only like around the airport. SFO was only, maybe 10 minutes from the stadium, because that's on the south side of San Francisco as well. So luckily it wasn't too bad of a drive, but sometimes you catch that California traffic. It doesn't matter what time of day. It could be at like 9:30 at night. It's like rush hour traffic for some reason. But it wasn't easy. That place was a dump. There's obviously a lot of iconic moments that went down in 49er history. I was not any part of those. We had some pretty down years when I was with the 49ers, but when I left, it got better. I don't know if there's any irony in that or any coincidence in that, but
those are things you should never tell me, Jay.
Right. I don't need to give you any more. Yeah, I don't need to give you any more fuel. But yeah, it was good. It was fun out there. Interesting, being a kid that's grown up in the Midwest and really never left the state of Nebraska. And then all of a sudden you're flown out to the Bay Area, and you're trying to find apartments that, you're paying rent that's, on a mortgage on like a almost like $750,000 home here and $500,000 home to $750,000 home in Omaha or Lincoln, and you're paying that on a 2-bedroom apartment in California. You're like, oh boy, this is, stuff just got real.
Thank you, signing bonus. That's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, it helps. Yeah.
So I think when you and I, we do your podcast, the More to It, and we talk a lot of Husker football. And I think one of the biggest topics that people always bring up to me from our discussions are the difference between the 3-4 and the 4-3 defenses that you and I played. Is you were a true rush end. And what I mean by that is not only did you have the exact body size, speed, power for it, but you had the versatility to be able to drop back, cover some passes, not well, but drop back, cover, take up some space. And then you go to San Francisco and you were essentially standing up. Talk about that transition.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. It was hard. And then when you get, my first 2 years, I was on IR. Had season-ending injuries my first 2 years in the league. So it took me a while to learn the position. It was completely different. As a 4-3 defensive end, you listen for calls. You kind of just pay attention to the tight end or the tackle, or just, making sure, you play in a gap scheme, you have C gap or D gap, whatever it may be. And you listen for the calls. All of a sudden, when you go to a 3-4, I'm communicating with the inside linebackers. I'm communicating with corners. I'm communicating with safeties. I'm communicating moves and calls to 3 techniques or a 4 technique or a 5 technique. I have to kind of know the whole field. I have to know coverages. When we zone blitz in college, I'd always drop off like the number 3 receiver, and that's when you count outside in. So usually a tight end or to maybe more of a trips or a running back if it's just more of a pro style formation. But all of a sudden I'm excuse me, I got to know cover 6, cover 9, cover 2, you name it, like all sorts of stuff. It was hard. It was really hard because all of a sudden you're playing against grown-ass men who do this for a living, and they're a lot bigger and faster than everyone in college. And so the games
but not better looking, Jay.
That's for sure. We got that handled. And it was tough. It was a struggle. It took me, honestly, if I wasn't hurt, I probably would have taken me my full rookie year, and I probably would have got the hang of it my second year. But I didn't really get the hang of it till my third year because I would go through training camp and then get hurt. And obviously you'd have OTAs and stuff, but just never was able to fully grasp it just because I was only able to play in, you play in 4 preseason games and, then I get hurt and all of a sudden, boom, you're on IR and all you're allowed to do is rehab and you go to meetings and stuff. But I was never a guy that could learn it in the meeting room. I had to be on the field, go through walkthroughs and go through it. So it wasn't easy, but I love the defense. It's great. I think it's very efficient. That you have to have the guys. It's your bodies are a little different than a 4-3. You got to have bigger D linemen. The guy that can play 2 gaps and kind of a nose and all that stuff. So linebackers are usually a little smaller sometimes in the 3-4 because you got to be able to run. You got to be able to avoid blocks because you have obviously a lot of times you'll have guards uncovered and they can get right up to you on the second level. So, it's great. If I was a D coordinator now, I'd want to run a 3-4, to be honest, over a 4-3. I'd like to do both. We did both in sub and nickel situations, but I think a 3-4 defense, when you get the guys to do it, you can cause some tough situations for the offense.
Do you think, we're seeing our defense, the black shirts, they're starting to move in the right direction statistically. They got better as the year went on. They're running the 3-4. Do you think it's too tough mentally on those kids to learn both and be able to move in, move out? We did an under-over. That concept is somewhat similar. But, moving to complete different formations, that's a lot of mental entanglement. How do you think they could handle that at that age?
Yeah. They kind of their 3-4 is a lot different than what I ran. I ran like a Wade Phillips 3-4. They run more of like a Belichick Parcells type 3-4, where essentially a lot of times you watch Nebraska play, they have 2 D linemen and then they have their 2 outside guys. So essentially they almost are in a 4-3, and depending on who they play, they are in a dime nickel situation a lot just because of nowadays spread football. But when you get you go against more of the Wisconsins and I'm trying to think of other kind of line up at you in the Big Ten. I'm trying to think about everyone's kind of still spread, Penn State, Ohio State,
Right.
Iowa. I think Iowa's, you obviously line up at you and run the ball. So a lot of times in those situations, that's where that defense plays really, really well, is when you get more of your pro style, 22 personnel, it's 2 tight ends, 2 running backs, or, 21 personnel, more your pro style. And that defense is well suited for that. It's just, I think it's hard against some of the spread and stuff that they get, and they kind of spread you out. And now you're relying on, 4 guys to rush the passer. And it's just, you don't have necessarily the best pass rushers sometimes that a guy's playing at a 3 technique. It's hard to get home. So, but I think they do a little bit of both sometimes, but the defense played well this year. I mean, that's the only bright spot of the football team. The offense was still another letdown, but the defense, I think, stepped up and did a lot of good things. So I like what Chenander and our guy Barrett Ruud and Fisher and Tuioti and Dawson are doing down there. They're doing a lot of really good things. So hopefully they can improve and tweak stuff. But I'm excited to see what they're able to put out there in 2021 now, I guess.
You just made me feel old. We always we always joked about Scott Frost needs to listen to your podcast and hear opinions. Get some more guys around the program, former players. Now you're starting to see it. Jay Foreman's there volunteering. A couple other guys. I mean, I must have missed the call. I don't know if your cell phone was ringing, James, but they're starting to see that, and we've already starting to hear a little some positive feedback from that. In our experience and your experience specifically in 2006, I sat there and I thought, what marquee game can I ask Jay about? Well, you balled out in all of them, Jay, clearly and obviously, and I'll say that to the day I die. But what really booked my man, I found a picture of us, you, me, and Stu, and I'll send it to you. It's us walking out the front of the team going into Texas A&M against the 12th man on a game that was going to determine whether we were going to go to the Big 12 championship or not. And if you remember, that team was stacked.
They're good.
A lot of talent. They were fighting. They were still in the mix for a conference championship if Oklahoma ended up missing out. So there was a lot of impact of that game. Probably one of the toughest atmospheres we played in. We stop them on defense, and our team goes down and scores a touchdown to put us in the Big 12 championship. That was the marquee one, I think, in my head from your senior year. What's the one that sticks out to you?
That would be for, getting a win down there is hard. I mean, winning at Kyle Field and Texas A&M and College Station, that's a hard place to play. And we started out well. I think we were up like 21-3 in that game. We always kind of start out the third quarter slow. I mean, a lot of teams do it after halftime. They fought back. We get a stop. We blocked a field goal because they got the field goal. The game was pretty much over. And I think we were down by 6, I believe, or maybe 5. I can't remember. Anyways, but they get it, and Zach just comes out firing. I mean, like, guys came up big. Like Dan Erickson had like a couple huge catches. Like, he got that people don't probably remember him.
Stepped up out of nowhere.
Special teams. I think he caught a couple big passes on the sideline, and obviously, Nate Swift and Todd Peterson catching big passes, and I think Cody Glenn ran the ball well that game. But that drive, and then they throw that fade up to Maurice, and it's just like. That was it. And then we actually had to go back on the field. And I think
Zach, can you take your time, buddy? We're already cashed out. We did our job. Just milk the clock a little bit.
Yeah. But we had to go back out there and we shut it. I think they had two or three tries. I can't remember, but I think me and Adam met at the quarterback for the final play of the game and got him down. So that's a huge one. There's, unfortunately, I always remember more of the losses, unfortunately. Just the way, some of those Texas games.
Half-glass empty guy, huh?
Yeah, I know. That Texas one rips my heart out. The Texas game my junior year, your sophomore year, that still kills me. But, yeah, that's, I think we beat Kansas my senior year at home. We went to overtime. Kansas was becoming a really good program there with Mangino.
Mm-hmm.
But that A&M one, when we had a chance, I think, to seal the North when we played Oklahoma State, but we kind of shit the bed there, but
we were banged up. That was a tough game because what we were coming off, it was basically a trap game. And for those listeners who don't know what those trap games are, I mean, you have a big primetime game the week before. You got another primetime game the week after. You're playing somewhat of a down team on the road. There's just a lot of factors that come into that make it a difficult win. I was hurt. So, I mean, there goes your best player. So now you're really trying to recoup some talent on the field.
See, you could even say that with a straight face.
I never can. And if people don't know me and listen to this, they really think I'm the biggest a-hole possible. But it's just par for the course for us.
Yeah. Everyone's like, do you know this Corey McKeon guy? Like, what's his deal? I'm like, oh yeah, you don't know him well enough. Just give it some time. He doesn't have a serious bone in his body.
Just get in a foursome with him on the course, you'll get it.
Yeah, right. That one's huge. I mean, to seal it, we hadn't played in a Big 12 championship since 2000. When Nebraska won it, or maybe 99. Right. Excuse me, in 99. And so that was big. That would be mine too. I mean, that was a big time win for us. And unfortunately, the Big 12 title games, Oklahoma didn't go the way we wanted to. I mean, defensively, we played our tails off, our asses off. That was a fun thing, but offense couldn't get going. So, but yeah, that A&M game was that's a good one.
I got a play for everyone to listen about because this is one of my favorite things, and I've joked about it with you. 2006, we're at USC, big time game. I thought we had a decent game plan on defense. I thought our offense played very conservatively just to try to keep us in the game. I mean, we didn't let Zach go. I mean, they were so damn talented. You get to make one mistake.
I think they had about ended up being like 5 first rounders on that defense that over the next two, right? I mean, Taylor Mays, Ray Malaluga, Cedric Ellis,
Clay Matthews,
and he didn't really play. I mean, he played special teams, but I think he was pretty young. I'm thinking I missed probably some other guys, but yeah, I mean that Dwayne Jarrett, wide receiver on offense. They had a really good offensive tackle, Sam Baker, that was a first rounder that played in the league for like 10 years. So yeah, that team was. I mean, hell, they just played for the national championship the year before and got beat by Texas, but obviously they don't have Reggie and Liner anymore and Lendell White. So but sorry, you're getting into our game.
They were good, and I'll never forget we did a lot of some good zone blitzes, and there was a lot of plays that you were crashing down a gap, and I was kind of scraping off the end for cleanup. And there was a play. Here comes number 44, beats his guy off the line. The fullback knows you're not his guy, so you stick the guy right in the hole, the running back. You've got a lineman on your left, you stick him. The tight end's trying to cut me. I get away from the cut, and I see you stand him up, and I've got no angle to hit the guy. But you know who I had an angle to hit? You. So I went as hard as I can right at the back of your jersey and hit you from behind. And to be quite honest, I don't really think it did too much. We stood him up in the hole, probably caused the 4th down. Who knows? But then I just remember walking off the field going, I think Jay's going to be pretty pissed at me. I just tattooed him in the back in the middle of the hole.
Thanks. Appreciate that. That's that just helps all my prescriptions I have to go pick up at Walgreens, every month.
Well, we'd appreciate if you shop local, Jay. Yeah, that was one of my favorite plays. But I think back of both our 2005 or 2006 season, you and I had a game-changing play against Iowa State. Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, we did. I mean, well, I had an interception. That was my only career interception that game.
The one I'm talking about, 06 at Iowa State.
Oh, 06
the fake field goal.
Yeah, the fake field goal. Yes. Sorry, I always go back to my one career interception. That's always so.
Hey, it was a great pick, Jay. You should talk about it.
No, that was. I forget they did. They ran the fake, and I think we stopped him down the goal line in a situation too. But yeah, that fake. I remember. I almost because my responsibility was to hit the tight end and kind of bounce outside and to make sure they don't run a fake that way. Well, I almost bounced outside too early and I caught myself and fought back in there. And I think you and I both hit him there. And
yeah, I remember that was a great plan because they knew that we were rushing about 2 gaps really hard back when you could push her behind, leaving a couple of gaps vulnerable. But I remember in my head thinking, are these guys serious? They're going to run this scrawny string cheese with hair looking kid at me and Jay Moore? And you and I planted the guy. And if you think back, those 2 years for Iowa State, when they had two good recruiting classes, they had Brett Meyer, Todd Blythe, they had a lot of talent. They had the kid from Omaha.
Yeah, leaders. Yeah, and leaders. Well, the D lineman, but Stevie Hicks.
Yeah, they had a lot of talent, and they were actually on the cusp of maybe taking over the Big 10 or the Big 12 North, because we were starting to roar back from a bad season, and they had a lot of talent. 05, they come in, your pick. We beat them in OT, right?
Yeah, so we do, 28-21 or something like that, yeah.
And I remember Coach Callahan circling that one at Iowa State on the calendar going, in 2006, going, this is going to be a pivotal game. And we came in there and I think played some of our best football on the road at night, tough atmosphere against a really good team. And I think we handled them pretty well. I think it was 28-14. We stopped them on the goal line twice.
Yeah, we kind of had control that whole game. I remember we get kind of a late touchdown for half. I think Mo Purified caught one, but I just never felt like that thing was out of control. I felt like we had that thing in wraps the whole game. I can't even don't even remember a super stressful situation, except one time I was in zone coverage. I left my guy because I thought Meyer was going to run, and then he dumps the ball over my head, and Kaz got pissed and pulled me out for a play. But other than that, that was the most stressful situation of that game. But
Jay, even you could take one off. Okay, no one's perfect. We all make mistakes out there. Not me, right. Most likely you.
Yeah, see, this is my bad habit. I always remember the bad plays and my interception.
It was a great pick. I can pull it up on YouTube for all the listeners out there. I'll just blast it to every email address in Nebraska to remind them. So your Elkhorn Antlers had a great year.
Yeah.
Huskers a little bit of a down year. Niners a little bit of a down year. Talk a little bit how your injuries kind of stopped your pro career, because you were going to be a stud and you tear up the biceps doing too many curls. I remember that.
That's you. Yeah, I never really was hurt in college. I never missed a game because of injury. But my rookie year, we're playing the Chargers in preseason down there at, Old Qualcomm, and my own teammate falls on my left ankle in the last preseason game, in the first half, I believe, or maybe early in the third. And boom, wasn't a broken ankle. I've been better off as broken, but it was a super duper high sprain, bone bruise, cartilage kind of all jacked up. Wasn't allowed to run for 14 weeks. If they said if I would have broken my ankle, I'd have been back in 6 weeks. So I was out, and I couldn't have played anyways, because that was back when IR, they have 2 IRs now where you can be on it for 8 and still come back and play the rest of the season. But that's when you're on IR, you were stuck there for the year. So rehab with all that wasn't easy. Came back, my second year in the league. And again, playing the Chargers at our place now. We always play the Chargers our last preseason game of every year. And I was on starting kickoff, so we got the ball first. We came out and scored. So we kicked the ball back after there, and I was back off to them. And I think I was number 3 or number 4 on kickoff. So you always counted outside in. So I essentially was 1 or 2 guys removed from the kicker. Running down, I am not blocked. I'm kind of looking around, heading to 12. I'm like, oh my God, someone's going to come and tee off on me here. But come down, no one touched me, and the guy is running away from me to my right. This dude is stupid fast. And so I reach out and dive, and I grab his towel that he had hanging off of him, and I got whipped around, and I felt like I had caught a cramp in my bicep. And I looked down, and my biceps all the way up my arm. I'm like, So I can't move it, because I do I just catch that cramping feeling, and then I'm like, what just happened? You just tore your bicep. You're going to be on IR again. So, get surgery, a few days later and rehab for that. And then, now I'm damaged goods and kind of bounce around the league for a little bit to keep trying to play. But, it's hard to find a spot when you've, really haven't played a whole lot of football your first 2 years and you've been hurt. So, was a little bit of unfortunate, but, it's sometimes things go the way they do.
Yep, and obviously you would have had a great career without those injuries, but you've also been lucky. They haven't carried over. You're a great golfer now. You enjoy playing the sport. You do a lot in terms of reporting and discussing the Huskers and the organization, the team, the players. You do a great job at that. I know I watch, so there's one viewer for you. But talk about, with this Nebraska Foundation, the Nebraska Greats Foundation, you were lucky. You're not seeing too many medical expenses, anything down the road, but there's any athletes out there that lettered in the state of Nebraska, any university, that have any hardships financially or with medical, Jay's a good example. Jay's been lucky. He hasn't had too many residual effects. But if he goes to break a golf club over his knee after I beat him on the course and he has to go to the hospital, the Nebraska Greats Foundation will step in and help you there. But the problem with this, Jay, and you, there's guys like us, and we've got these egos, especially me, and the don't like read foundations are there for guys like us who have hardships, and don't be too prideful. I know you wouldn't, I know I wouldn't. So if there's anyone out there listening that could benefit from that lettered in the state of Nebraska, please do not hesitate to reach out. Jay, what else? Give me something about yourself, something on the golf course that keeps you focused, that keeps you getting better, that I could write down in my notes to carry with me when I'm out there.
Well, golf's the greatest game because you never, you can get something, you can be better at something every day, that's, sometimes your putting stinks, so you work on your putting. Sometimes your short game stinks, so you work on your short game. Sometimes you're not hitting the ball well with, your wedges, inside 100 yards, so you work on it. There's always something to work on. That's what I enjoy. That's, in not, being retired from football now since 2012, it just keeps those competitive juices flowing, whether I'm playing with you or, other guys or good players out there. You're playing for, whether it's $5, $20 or $100, whatever. It's just nice to get the juices flowing and work at something like we did with football. So there's always something to get better at. That's what you, as an athlete, you were just always working on something to get better, while you're trying to get stronger, faster, bigger, quicker, learn the game better, become smarter. There was always something. Now, we don't have that in our golf. For me, is that helps replace that. So it's been good.
I saw it. I can't remember if it was from Tiger Woods' documentary or where I saw it, but it really stuck in my head as an athlete, as a competitor, as someone that wants to succeed at everything from my work life to my being a father, to taking the trash out, to beating my son at sports, who's 4, so he knows that he's not the king ding-a-ling yet.
Right. Uh-huh.
But the thing that stuck out of my head was golf is the only sport that you're competing against yourself.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm. And that will always stick out in my head, especially me, who's a mental midget. So
yeah,
makes a lot of sense.
If you, I made you look good your career in college, so I kept those guys off of you.
That's right, and I'd appreciate it if you did it post college on the golf course.
You don't hit a good shot on the golf course. I can't make you look better. You did it. It's all on you.
Well, especially when you're giving me counterintuitive advice. Just kidding. You would never do that.
Well, so no, that's you're exactly right. It's just you, and there's a ball staring at you, and you try to hit it, and sometimes it goes where you're looking, and sometimes it doesn't, and then you try to figure out how to put that dumb ball in a small hole as quick as possible, and least shots possible. And it's a simple game, but
so simple, doesn't it?
Yeah,
exactly.
You hit a ball with a stick into a really small hole and try to do it as few times possible. So it's a great game. I love it, but yeah, it can drive you mad.
Well, Jay, buddy, I appreciate you jumping on this pod. I know everyone's always excited to hear from you. And if you're out there and you need any help with anything financially, medical wise, please go to the website, www.negreats.org. This has been the Nebraska Greats podcast, produced by the Nebraska Greats Foundation, which serves collegiate athletes facing medical need and financial challenges. Jay Moore, number 44, Nebraska Cornhuskers, black shirt. Appreciate it, buddy. And I'll see you soon.
This has been Nebraska Greats, a weekly podcast serving the Nebraska Greats Foundation. You can find each episode on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Play, and anywhere you get your podcasts. Please give generously to serve Nebraska's former sports heroes in need at negreats.org. And be sure to follow the NE Greats on Facebook and Twitter.